All right, peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of the Mixed Metals Podcast. I'm your host, Daquan Bynum, aka Hard to Find. Been a lot that's happened since the last time we've spoken. The Rangers smoked the World Series. They won 4-1, I believe, over the Diamondbacks. Um, USC lost yet again. Um, let's see, the Colorado fell to 4-5. Um, Pretty good game at Oklahoma, between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. The last rivalry for now that we know of, because with Oklahoma moving to the SEC next season, um, Oklahoma State sent them packing, with a loss. Alabama, Roll Tide, did end up beating LSU, like I was sure they would. Jaden Daniels was in concussion protocol late into the game. I think around the beginning of the fourth quarter, maybe end of the third. Um, but the weird thing, they put him back in after like a couple plays uh, of the backup being in. They put him back in, and then they took him right back out. That was weird. I don't know if a concussion is the question here. I don't know if it should be where I don't know if you should just throw him right back in. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't throw him right back in. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but if that was the question, then I don't understand why you would put that young man back in and put him in harm's way potentially. Uh, Clemson finally got a good win. They beat Notre Dame 31-23. Clemson has not been having a great year. I believe they're 5-4. Um, and I always like to see Dabo Swinney fail because of during I want to say like the beginning of the pandemic when the Black Lives Matter movement was probably at or around his peak. Uh, he he wore that shirt that said football matters, and to me that showed that not only does he not take it seriously, the Black Lives Matter movement, but he went so far as to have a shirt made that says "Football Matters," as if it was more important than Black lives or any other lives for that matter. That was tasteless, and um, he hasn't really succeeded since wearing that shirt. So I just you reap what you sow. In the NBA, so far this season has been pretty interesting. The Suns have a weird situation going on where Devin Booker played the very first game, didn't play like the next three, I want to say, played the next game after that, and hasn't played since. I'm not sure what's going on with him or what's their plan as far as resting him. And I'm curious to know whether or not the NBA, because I know that they have a new rule where two star players can't sit at the same time. So I'm curious to know like how serious is the injury, if there is one with Devin Booker, or like whatever's going on. I'm curious to know whether or not they will investigate that further. Wemby has been having an awesome year so far. 20 points per game, almost 21 points a game, 8 rebounds, 1 assist per game. He had 38 the other night. And he seems to be like a late bloomer as far as when he gets activated. He may struggle at first, but he has seemed to been able to turn it on at the end of each game. Let's see, last five or so games, um, against Dallas, Houston, Clippers, Phoenix, and Phoenix. 15 points, 21, 11, 18, and 38 points in all of those games. As far as rebounds, 5, 12, 5, 8, and 10. I mean, he's been a beast. Blocks, he's gotten at least one block in every game so far. He's averaging over 1 steal a game. He's just been, I mean, this is, if he is able to put it all together, we may be in for something special for the next 10 to 15 years of just great play. And of course, I mean, you have to identify him as a center, but I don't think that that's what he is. I don't think that that's what he'll end up being. I think that if anything, he'll be like a point forward or something like that. Um, if he can get his shot down, more down pat, I believe that that he is on track to be a very very special player. Um, the Lakers did end up beating the Clippers finally for the first time in 12 games. But then they went and got smoked by the Magic the next game. It's just I don't know if it's injuries or what's going on with them this early in the season. And again, it may be too early to say, but I just I'm not sure if I don't know if Austin Reeves has taken the necessary step yet. I do believe that it's coming. I just think that it's a matter of time. He got to get worked into the lineup, and they got to get their rotations right before we are able to see like what this team could really be. I still do think that this team could be special as well. And I'm my fingers are crossed for a Celtics Lakers final. Um, later on today, well, at the moment we got the Suns and the Pistons. Suns up by 2. Raptors and Spurs just started. Warriors and Cavs later on at 6 Eastern. Hornets and Mavs. Not that interesting to me. And Grizzlies, who are 0-6, and the Blazers as the night game. Moving on to the NFL. Our early game today was pretty exciting. Kind of low scoring considering the teams, but the Chiefs uh, are leaving Germany with a 21-14 victory over the Dolphins. Um, just a lot of offensive struggles, a lot of punts in that game. I watched it from the very beginning. Tyreek didn't, he was held in check for the most part. Mostert, 12 carries, 85 yards, 1 touchdown. On the flip side of that, we got Pacheco with 16 carries for 66 yards. I want to say Travis Kelce didn't get a lot, didn't produce a lot. 3 catches for 14 yards. Let's see, Jalen Waddle, who was injured, I believe, in the first series. He was in and out of the game. 3 catches, 42 yards. They just couldn't get a lot going. Patrick Mahomes scrambled when he needed to and got the necessary yards. Got a 16-yard for his longest run. Tua finished with a QBR of 51.9 and Pat with a 45.1. I'm not sure that. Okay, QBR, yeah, but then it says rating over here 105.6 for Pat and 87 for Tua. I'm not sure what those numbers are. The Ravens are beating the absolute hell out of the Seahawks at the moment. It's 37-3. Browns shutting out the Cardinals, which is kind of expected. They traded away their quarterback, and Kyler Murray seems to not yet be ready to play. He is cleared, but not yet ready. Browns are beating them 27-0. 30-30 in Houston with the Buccaneers. Um, 17-14 with Chicago and the Saints. 17-24, my apologies. The Saints up by 7. Vikings up 3 on the Falcons in Atlanta. Rams down 10 to the Packers in the fourth quarter. Commanders up on the Patriots. Patriots 4th and 7 is maybe around their last opportunity to get some points on the board. 5 minutes left in that game. I'm very, very, very excited to watch the Cowboys and Eagles. That's coming up here pretty soon in a little less than an hour. I believe Jacksonville and my 49ers are on bye this week. And we have if I'm not mistaken, we got the Bills and the Bengals later on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got a few later games. We got the Colts and the Panthers at 4:05. I need Zach Moss to have a touchdown in that game so I can win me some money. We got the Giants and the Raiders. It's gonna be a terrible game in my opinion. The Bills and the Bengals, and at 8:20. So that's the late game. And then tomorrow we have the Chargers and the Jets, which I expect to be a great game. Um, let's see, what can we discuss here? So the quarterback that the Vikings started, after losing Kirk Cousins last week to an Achilles tear. The quarterback that they put in, Jaron Hall, who I don't think I've ever heard of. He got put in the concussion protocol after the first quarter. So Josh Dobbs, who was just traded there last week, um, ended up playing, and he is doing decent, I believe. I think he got sacked for a safety early in the game, but other than that, he's been doing okay. 15 for 22, 111 yards, and one touchdown, 5 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown. So he's got a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown so far. Um, I still so before the season, my Super Bowl pick, which is half biased and the other half is just the AFC team I think is gonna have the best chance. My bias is of course the 49ers. I do believe the 49ers will get it back on track. You take into consideration that this time last season before the bye, I think they were 3-4. And the season before that, I want to say the record was around the same. This year 5-3, and I do understand that they were able to make trades and that kind of thing. I do think that they made a great trade at the deadline by getting Chase Young for a conditional third round pick. I think that he would make a hell of a difference on that line. You can have him on one side, Bosa on the other side, and we still have Greg. What is his name? Randy Gregory. Um, in there, to be able to mix it up. So I think that defensively they strengthen themselves. I don't think that we will have Chase Young long term, but I think that this is a rental that is well worth it. I think that this is a Super Bowl rental potentially, and I mean we got a pretty tough stretch coming up. We got I don't know the order, but got the Ravens coming up, got the Eagles coming up, got let's see. Next week we got Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Um, then Tampa Bay after that. And I think that's a wash. Then we're gonna smoke them. Um, wow. Uh, on Thanksgiving we have the Seahawks. Uh, we still have to play the Seahawks twice, so that's something to look out for. But the Seahawks got murdered today, or they get murdered. It's 37-3 with 5:53 left. San Francisco at Philadelphia on December 3rd. Seattle at San Francisco, December 10th, December 17th, which is my little sister's birthday. San Francisco at Arizona. Still got to play Arizona one time and still got to play Rams one time. So I think that they'll be all right as far as playoff seeding. Um, and I think that no team is going to want to see them come to playoffs. In my humble opinion, I think that uh, the Eagles and their secondary has finally, come together. That they're coming into their own. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I trust the Eagles to be able to. I mean, we can obviously trust them to get to the Super Bowl, but I don't know if we can trust them 2 years in a row to be like the hands down best team. They have been week in and week out. They have been impressive. But they have also been unimpressive throughout this 7-1 run so far. So I'm interested to see what they end up actually being, with us being at this point halfway through the season. Uh, Missouri, back to college football. Missouri was narrowly beat by Georgia, 30-21. If I didn't say that before, Ohio State was struggling against Rutgers early on. It was 9-7 at halftime. Rutgers was up, and it ended up being 35-16. I mean, as far as the committee, they'll probably flip those two teams, seeing how Georgia beat a ranked Missouri team, and Ohio State barely hung on and beat a unranked Rutgers. Michigan beat the hell out of Purdue. Florida State did beat Pittsburgh 24-7. Um, if I didn't say the score earlier, Washington was the team that USC lost to 52 to 42. Oregon got a pretty got a statement win over Cal, 63 to 19. Cal has been giving teams trouble definitely in the first half of games, but they haven't been able to complete a good win. Texas edged out Kansas State 33 to 30. Um, Ole Miss did beat Texas A&M. Now, Ole Miss is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, I think next week is the Ole Miss and Georgia game. Uh, Ole Miss only has one loss total, and that one loss is in the SEC. So at this point, it's between Ole Miss and Alabama. If Ole Miss were to lose another game, well, okay, Alabama will have to lose two games, two of their remaining three, with one of them not even being an SEC game. Got Kentucky and Auburn in the last three games, and Alabama will have to lose both of those. Ole Miss will have to win out in order for Ole Miss to make it. But if both teams end up with two losses, Alabama will have the tiebreaker over Ole Miss. So that I mean that's pretty much 1 and 2 in the SEC West. In the SEC East, I'm actually not sure. Let's see. So yeah, it's pretty much decided. There's basically no way that Georgia could lose their grip on the SEC East. Um, well, yes, it would have to be an absolute disaster in order for them to lose. I think they have two more SEC games, with those being Tennessee and Ole Miss. So yeah, I don't see them. Uh, Even if they were to lose both, I still think I think they got the tiebreaker over pretty much everybody else, unless Tennessee were to win out. Um, So yeah, I just it's looking like a collision course between Alabama and Georgia yet again, and we'll see what happens. I've been it's hard being having cheered for Alabama your whole life and having all these people in Georgia all of a sudden come out of the woodworks and talk all this trash about whether or not Georgia is Alabama ain't gonna win no more. They ain't gonna win no more. So we'll see what happens. I just humbly say we will see what happens. Moving back to the NBA, Harden is expected to make his Clippers debut again Monday against the Knicks. I don't care about James Harden. I think that for this grown adult millionaire to be pouting, now if he was lied to, that's a that does cross the line. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the relationship was between he and Daryl Morey, if Daryl Morey decided to lie to James Harden, that does cross the line. I do understand that, but at the same time, you have to be professional, and I do think that he carried out professionally towards the end. I think that there were some things that uh could have been done a lot differently. And of course, this is outside looking in. So I've never been James Harden. I don't want to be James Harden. So yeah, I get it, but I just I'm curious to see how the Clippers make that work. I don't know how Russ and James Harden both stay happy on this team, happy in their roles. We haven't seen Kawhi and Paul George stay healthy for a whole season. Well, the one time that we did was the bubble, and they blew it. Which I feel like may have been their only chance to have won a championship. I think that the league has kind of passed them by. Um, we've seen time and time again the James Harden experiment not work out. And it can just based off pattern, it can just be a matter of time before he's unhappy here in LA and he pouts his way out of there or whatever. But the positive thing about their whole situation is that all four of the superstars are on expiring contracts. So whether or not this year works out, that there are discussions to be had at the end of the season. And I don't think it'll work out. I don't think that they will beat. I think that they traded away a lot of their depth. Um, and I I get that James Harden can be an insurance policy, but what about when it comes to the playoffs? Again, based off pattern, we haven't seen James Harden be able to elevate in the playoffs. We've only seen him regress, if anything, in the playoffs. He can have a magical game here and there, and that's exactly what he had last season when they went to Game 7 with the Celtics or whoever they went to Game 7 with. When Joel was kind of in and out of the lineup. He was injured. He was fighting through an injury. Uh, so yeah, we've seen what James Harden. We've seen his work at this point. We kind of know what he's about, unless something happens where he turns back the clock or he turns into a machine or the Houston James Harden. But I don't think that they would be able to succeed. I don't think that the Clippers would be able to succeed with Houston James Harden. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be a mess out there in LA in Clipperland. But you got sometimes you got to go for all or nothing. So we will see what happens. I believe I mentioned on a previous episode that my favorite hockey team is the Red Wings. They've been doing pretty good so far this season. I want to say 6-4 or something like that, 7-4 maybe. Uh, See if I can find that. Yep. Yep. 7-4, 4, 2-1 at home. Having a pretty decent season compared to, I always get the alerts whenever the game is over. And it's been more wins than losses, and that's always a good thing, especially considering that my Cardinals let me down this baseball season, but it'll be all right. Um, I do believe that is about it. Let's see some good games coming up this week in basketball. Uh, the Lakers play Miami tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern. Um, Atlanta, Oklahoma City, that can be a decent game. New Orleans at Denver, that can be a pretty good game. No game scheduled on Tuesday. Boston at Philly on Wednesday. That'll be a good one. I'll definitely be tuned into that one. Nowadays, any game that San Antonio is playing would probably be interesting, especially if it's on national TV. And they got San Antonio at New York Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern. That'll be a pretty good one. Golden State at Denver Wednesday as well. That'll be a really good game. Uh, Milwaukee. I see Milwaukee plays Indiana Thursday. Um, the the thing is about Milwaukee. Dame started out excellent. He started out. I mean, that first game was amazing. And he's definitely cooled off a little bit since then, but he's still averaging 23 points a game, 5 assists, basically one steal, 3.2 turnovers. That's a little high. And Giannis averaging 4.4 turnovers a game. They got to get those numbers down. But um, I mean, it's early. Obviously, it's early in the season, and they got to get it figured out. He's never Dame has never had the luxury of playing with another like all-time great. So he's got to figure that out, how the ball distribution and those kind of things. It's a lot to figure out, I'm sure. But I'm keeping my eye on Dame this season. He's one of my favorite players, but it's just, after that first game, he's kind of, I want to say he had like 18 or 15 or something like that. In another game, it's just undame like numbers, but that again can be expected. With him having Giannis, who can score down in the post, who can do whatever he wants to, basically, especially with Dame there. Um, so yes, I do believe that is about it. Let me just update you on the scores as they currently stand. The Browns are about to wrap up their game against the Cardinals with a shutout, 27-0. Buccaneers down 3, 4:27 left in the fourth. First and 10 on their own 39. Bears are still down to the Saints, 17-24. A little under 2 minutes left. I'm sure they had the 2-minute warning. And the Saints appear to be driving. They are on the Chicago 12. 24-28 at the 2-minute warning in Atlanta with the Vikings. They are also driving. They are on the Atlanta 27. I may tune into that game after this. Got the Packers and the Rams. The Packers about to wrap that one up. New England still down 3, a little under 2 minutes left, second and 2 on their own 32. And I believe that is it until the next batch of games start. Um, that is all I have for you today. We will probably reconvene around Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I pray that you enjoyed yourself. And don't be afraid to leave a like or subscribe. As I will be doing at least 2 episodes a week moving forward, and we will try to maybe do 3 to 4 episodes a week once I get the hang of it. But until then, I will see you soon. Peace.